let's get started. So the topic of this panel is to talk about the state of the art of the web platform. So of course this is a quite broad topic, and we just want to know your opinion on what's coming, or what are you excited about the web platform today. I know that you have different backgrounds, and it's all good. We don't need to share, the same framework. It can come from any of the popular frameworks, even vanilla JavaScript, if you like that. And even if you are not coming from the web platform, it will also be interesting to know your opinion, which maybe it's a little bit too far. But I'll ask you to give a little intro of yourselves, and then what you think is the most exciting thing. I mean, we know some of them has been around in social media for the last few days, so I guess we will cover most of those, and maybe some topics that we don't know right now. So maybe we start with you, Shmuela.
Cool. Hi everybody, I'm Shmuela Jacobs. I come from Israel, and I've been developing with some programming languages before, Java, Python, C++, and I fell in love with the web and Angular. It was AngularJS by the time. I realized that everything goes towards the web. All the applications are reaching a lot of users on the web, so that's why I really wanted to get into this. And AngularJS at that time was really amazing, and now I'm into Angular, the new version. I'm a developer, consultant, trainer. I'm the founder of NG Girls, where we teach women to program, to get into programming with Angular. So yeah, basically that's what I do, and I really love it.
And that's awesome. I really like NG Girls. I'm a big fan. And I see, all the work you're doing. It's awesome. What would be one of the topics that is catching your eye from the web platform?
From the web platform?
It could be also from Angular.
Can I have some? Well, there's the web platform, and Angular is also a platform that gives you a lot of tools to enjoy the possibilities that you have in the web platform. So if we're talking about progressive web applications, if we're talking about web components and everything, Angular really gives you a lot of ways integrated to help you use these new technologies. So. Do I have to say something that's not specific to Angular?
No, you can talk about Angular totally.
So progressive web applications is something that I'm really excited about, and I've been giving talks about it also. So I think that's a really great thing.
Cool. Yeah, it really is. I mean, progressive web apps have been around for a couple of years, but there's browsers are adopting some of the core technologies, and it's now I would say, ready to go.
Yeah, ready. It's almost in all browsers, but really getting there really fast, and we see a lot of potential there. Yeah.
Cool. So let's introduce our next panelist. If you can just give a brief intro, and then some of the topics that excite you about what's coming.
Sure. My name is David Khourshid. I live in Orlando, Florida, where it's a lot warmer than over here. I work at Microsoft, and we do a little bit of everything. We work with different companies, just doing solutions with Azure with them. So we'll work on Python, Scala, C#, JavaScript, TypeScript a lot, just a whole bunch of different things. And but some of the things that interest me, I'm sure are reactive animations, of course, and software modeling. So using state machines and state charts, which I gave a talk on yesterday.
Yeah, I'm actually impressed what you can achieve with these state machines.
Yeah.
And I'm also following your work on that topic, and also reactive animations. Really, really cool stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so what excites me about that is that I was telling him that the future of the web platform and stuff is sort of going back to the past in my view, where we're rediscovering old patterns that have been proven time and time again in other industries to work really well, and we're adapting them for our own needs in the web, such as reactive animations. It's a very old paper, 1997, state charts 1987, and even now we're all hyped about React hooks. If you're using React, that's sort of algebraic effects, which are pretty old. So
yeah, it's nice to see some of these concepts being applied today, and they are solid on academy, and they are now coming to the web platform is good news.
Right. Yes.
So thanks for your intro, David. We'll move to our next panelist. You want to introduce yourself and then pick some of the things that you are excited about?
Okay, hi, I'm David Kopal. I work at Blueberry here in Prague, and we are a digital agency, and we are working with cutting-edge technologies for our customers in our internal projects. So we are using React, for example, Vue or Reason in our internal projects. So really interesting job. And we are pretty excited about Reason, that we are also, as a community, we are organizing Reason ML community in Prague. And basically, I don't have a computer science degree because I was a lawyer, but then I got bored, learned to code, and became a developer. So I've been programming for more than 2 years, so my background is a little bit different than you two. I don't have that much experience in different programming languages because I always programmed only in JavaScript and now moved to Reason. Okay, so I guess it's to my background.
That's awesome.
Thanks. And now your question about...
Yeah, so some of the things that are under your radar that you are like following up, and maybe you get some excitement from them. What will be this?
Myself, I really like React as a framework, but still I think that in general JavaScript development is kind of hard because you have so many choices how to create your applications. You have so many frameworks. For example, what I mentioned in my yesterday's talk is that basically when you want to build some scalable React application, you need to use a lot of dependencies. In JavaScript, because it was evolving quite slowly, there are so many features and many developers are used to build JavaScript applications differently. So basically it's really difficult to find consensus between different developers because they are used to different ways to write code. That's what I, for example, like Reason, because in Reason basically it's based on a major language and there are not so many ways how you can build these applications. So in general, if we can talk like Reason is the future somehow, so what I like about Reason is that you don't need so many dependencies and there are really not so many ways how to write Reason code, so there are less choices. So in general for companies, development in Reason for me would be like easier in a way that you have some standard way how to write your code. That's what I think is the power of Reason. And another thing, while like Reason is its compilation targets, basically OCaml, you can compile it to bytecode, you can compile it to WebAssembly, so you can build theoretically a single app in Reason and compile it to macOS, iOS, Android, browser, and desktop. So I think this is the really powerful feature of OCaml and of Reason. And basically you are waiting for somebody to create like React in Reason that we can compile to all these platforms. That will be really powerful. That will really mean one code and all of the platforms. So that's why I like Reason. And for example, 2 weeks ago I've seen a talk by one Deverell from Mozilla, and he was talking how they are using Rust. And they were showing on benchmarks, and basically I think they recreated DevTools in Rust, and it was so much faster than in JavaScript, and they work with WebAssembly as well. So I think the future is just to maybe compiling to WebAssembly or to different sources. I think there are so many possible futures for web development.
Oh, totally. There's a lot of things going on, but it's good to have different people talking about what excites them, because they can show something that we ignore right now because we are kind of in one community or we are using one framework. So this is excellent, just having your input on that. Thanks. So let's go for the next panelist. You want to give us a small, small intro. Okay, that was quick. But and then if you can pick like few topics that excites you right now.
I'm Gleb Bahmutov. I'm from Moldova, but I live in Boston. I work for a company called Cypress.io. We're doing end-to-end testing of web apps. And the thing that really excites me is that the browsers are now pretty at the same level, if you think about, right? Like Microsoft decided they want to catch up, right, to Chrome. So they actually, the Edge now supports pretty much the same APIs as Chrome. Firefox is the same. And Safari is kind of lagging. But if you think about like how you used to program, like the baseline was so far removed from the cutting edge, and now at least like most of the browsers are here, and only maybe Safari and mobile cutting trails. So I'm really excited about that. But soon we'll have all the tools and all the toys, and you don't have to say, ooh, too bad, I cannot use them because I have to be.
Yeah, we have been so much time, you know, with many browsers like coming behind and then catching up a little bit too late, and then having to, you know, patch our code or how we do things just to accommodate these browsers. I mean, this is probably a historic moment when we get like all of the browsers kind of align and adopting technologies like progressive web apps and all of these shiny features that you can access from any of the different options. That's exciting.
I'm happy that you agree with me, Gerard.
I don't agree. I don't agree. I totally agree with you. Thanks a lot. Let's go with the final panelist,
right.
just at the corner.
Hey everybody, my name is Ryan Chenkie. I'm from Canada. And something that, well, I should give you a little background. I'm a consultant. I do work with Angular and Node quite often, and some other technologies as well, but mainly Angular and Node. And one of the things that I really like about the web platform as it's evolving today is things are getting easier, I think, in general. Like, you know, we might all agree that many pieces that we used to have to do that were tricky and difficult and took a lot of time, they are getting easier. There's still a lot of things that are hard to do. And what I like that I'm seeing these days is there's more and more companies and services that are popping up to solve those hard problems. So whether it's Cypress with end-to-end testing, or the company that I used to work for, Auth0, which helps to solve authentication, I think we're seeing more companies that are solving the problems that are still hard, and doing it in a really elegant way. And so what's really nice about that is that people who maybe are coming from different backgrounds, like law, for example, and maybe are just new to coding, they don't have to spend years trying to figure out stuff like OAuth. They can just plug into a service. They don't really have to care about exactly how OAuth works. They don't have to read the spec and spend time on things that aren't ultimately adding value to their application. Rather, they can just plug into a service. So I think we're seeing more and more of these kinds of services, which is super helpful. The other thing that I really like, personally, this might not be everybody's opinion, but I think we're starting to see a lot of settling in terms of new technologies and the hype. So, you know, 3 or 4 years ago, it was like new JavaScript frameworks every week, and some people still would contend that that's happening, but I'm starting to see things settling a bit, you know, if you think about the bigger players like React and Angular and Vue.js and you know, there's some other libraries in there as well. And that's not to say that there shouldn't be innovation, there shouldn't be you know, more technology kind of coming out, there shouldn't be people trying to do more, but I think a lot of the tension that we typically see around JavaScript frameworks in particular, I think that's starting to settle a bit. And I think that's a good thing. I think, you know, if we can learn the tools that have been established and become really effective with them, I think developers are going to be much more productive rather than fighting about what's the, you know, best new hype. So those are the things that I'm excited about.
Awesome, really good conversation we're having here. What I want to mention is a topic that it's very close to my heart. It's the community. So how do you see, what's the role of the community in the web technologies, and how we can bring, you know, improvements to the way we are dealing with community? Maybe some of the activities that you are doing, or some activities that we could do to improve that situation? Who wants to start?
I can start. Yeah, so I'm doing a lot of things in the community, so I got a lot of ideas in mind of how the community can help and how we can help the community. So first of all, if you have a community of developers and you're in touch with them, then you can learn from their experience. You can hear about what their problems are, the difficulties. Of course, you get bug reports, you get PRs. The Angular team actually makes a lot of use of the community. They're in touch with the community leaders, and occasionally they ask us to bring feedback that we hear from the community, from users, from meetups, and so on. And then they get ideas that they haven't thought about by themselves, because you really need to look around you in other projects, other companies, other people to realize new things. So that's a really great advancement there, and it doesn't only help projects like Angular, it helps the web itself, because the community comes with its demands, and then the web platform is getting there according to these demands. So all the standards that we have with ECMAScript, that you can suggest your standards, your vote for it. That's by us, by all of you. You want a feature, you believe in something, then you can really make a difference.
Yeah, that's really important. Getting all this feedback and also figuring out things that maybe you didn't thought before when you were building a library or you were building some service. Any of the other panelists, you have any stories about things that happened during a community event or something that you remember that was eye-opening or that you want to share with us?
Well, I run the Orlando CodePen community, and if you all use CodePen, it's a very, very social, it's sort of like a social network for experimental coding on the web, which is great because we get a variety of people who come to the meetups from all different levels, whether it's junior or senior developers, and also just a diverse range of people too. And so it's really interesting. Junior developers we've seen who come to these meetups, they're the ones who are experimenting the most. They're trying the new technologies. They're trying to see what they can make with that. And so whether you're starting out or you're more experienced, just going to those meetups and supporting people like that is going to be really, really beneficial to them, because those are the people who one day are going to, come up to this stage and give inspirational talks, and, so you want to support that.
Yeah, actually, I also follow the CodePen community. Actually, there's a way that you can run if you are interested, and this is more around creative coding. And usually they go on stage, which is something mind-blowing. They go on stage and try some technique, which can involve, I don't know, SVG or some fancy technology, mostly visual. And then you will be like, oh, wow, what is that? And it's kind of really difficult to get that knowledge in any other place, because it's kind of experimental, and it has this wow factor, which I like as well.
So I've been thinking about something. Who here would say that they're in a community, whether it be around a framework or a language or whatever? Who's in a community? Okay, so not very many people. Who here gets their news about programming stuff from Twitter, kind of the de facto place to go? A few of us. So not very many of us. And I've been talking with people about this recently. I think there's this, at least amongst a lot of programmers, there's this sense that the whole JavaScript community, if you will, is on Twitter, and you can go there and you can learn everything you would want about JavaScript. But for every developer that's on Twitter talking about JavaScript or related topics, there's probably 1,000 or 10,000 more out there that never touch Twitter, and they don't want to read news on Twitter, they don't want to share about their thoughts, but they have opinions, they have strong feelings about languages, but they're not in a forum like Twitter to do so. So something I'm thinking about is, wouldn't it be great if we could not, and I'm not saying everybody does this, but there's this tendency to look to Twitter and the people who are talking about things there as like kind of the source of truth, right, for what's going on in every community. And I think the more that we can kind of get out into the wild, to meetups, to even like if you've got the chance to go in and talk with people in various companies over like brown bag lunches or whatever, I think that that's probably going to become a more important way to start to get a sense of what everybody really, you know, feels in the world about these topics, rather than just being sucked right into the Twitter vortex. So just some thoughts I've been having recently.
Oh yeah, you're completely right. You're completely right.
So I have an example of good community. So everyone kind of says JavaScript is this toy language, no respect, right? Everyone, JavaScript. But if you look at JavaScript like 4 years ago, right, with ES6, every year there are proposals, you know, critique, adoption, stages, right? So anyone can propose something new for JavaScript publicly. You go on GitHub, look up ECMAScript TC39 committee, they have a GitHub repo, well organized, labeled, and you can just say, I want JavaScript to have this operator or have this feature. Anyone can do it. And then like it goes through stages, and maybe it will reach stage 4 and it will become part of a language, right, every year. And this is like the best, most transparent process where community can actually steer the language in a direction where people want it to be, as opposed to, I don't know, React hooks that just, oh, React hooks, here we are, use them.
Yeah,
Just
that's right. I mean, because I'm closer to the Angular community, we have seen few examples of that. So they proposed observables, some kind of standard implementation to go into the standard, and that's interesting to see more of these proposals, you know, succeed, and kind of shape, you know, the future of JavaScript and how we use it. I want to mention another area. Before we end with a little wrap-up from you. So when you are thinking about what you want to say for the wrap-up, I want to mention how much effort we are putting in improving the developer experience, like getting better tooling, and what is your experience, what tooling maybe some of the people here want to know about, and that can improve their developer experience, as you know, as how is your workflow and how you can improve that.
So if I may start, thanks. For me, for example, the biggest thing I now like about JavaScript and about Reason is type system. I mean, if you use types in your applications, I mean, you prevent so many errors. I mean, for example, the beauty of the typed language with built-in type system is that you have a large application, you change one thing, and in JavaScript you need to run the app and see, like, after 7 clicks what's wrong. But if you have a, for example, language with types as Reason, you just change something and a compiler will tell you all the 20 errors you have in your app. You will fix them, you know where to fix them, and then your app will run and you have this kind of safety. So I think this is like really huge change to JavaScript world to use types, because it really, you basically get rid of the whole bunch of errors, because they will be catched during the compile time. And I think this is the for large application, and this can save you a lot of time when developing. So I guess this is the thing I really love about, for example, Flow and TypeScript, and about Reason, that you have the type system. Just the advantage in Reason is that it's built in, so basically you can rely on it on 100%. With TypeScript, with Flow, they are great, but sometimes when I'm using Flow, I'm not sure if it's my mistake or mistake of the library, so that's sometimes confusing. So it's just, I want to point out that types are really cool.
Yeah, totally true. And we have seen, I mean, in Angular we are using TypeScript since maybe 2-3 years ago, and we are very familiar with you know, the benefits of using a type system. But we have seen announcements, like really exciting announcements from Evan Yu. Next version of Vue will be supporting or built using TypeScript. There's also other efforts like interest from the React community as well, with different approaches. But I would say that definitely, you know, types will be in the future in some shape or another.
If I may add about ReasonML, I've got to hear a little bit about it, and it does seem exciting if you want to learn something new. I heard that it's kind of the way React was supposed to be built. So now they're doing it with this new language, and you can compile it to different things, to JavaScript and to any other thing. And there are tomorrow workshops given by contributors of ReasonML. So you're very welcome to come. I think it's really exciting. So yeah, I know I'm an Angular person, but hey, I think there are exciting things also around it. There are also Angular workshops, right, Gerard?
Totally.
So one quick thing not mentioned, like I could tell you for 99% certainty the future of developer tooling is visual. And I say that because you've seen the popularity of Framer X. I'm sure many of you have heard of Framer X, and there's just all sorts of tooling that are just based around visually developing along with code. And that helps a lot because if you think about code, you could write the most complex, most structured, architected code. You make one typo, and your entire program is bust. And of course, we have tools that help us prevent those typos, but it's sort of silly. Those are just Band-Aids, right? So I think the future is visual tooling and being able to see what we're making.
Yeah, and we have seen the same kind of trend in different platforms. There's more, advances in CLIs. We also have a lot of investment from the core teams to just improve that experience for new developers and also more experience. So we are going to wrap up now. So if you want to leave like some final quote that we can tweet later on, and then we will just wrap it up before lunch.
I don't have a quote necessarily, but if you want to, you can follow me on Twitter, Ryan Chenkie there, and yeah, it's been great. Thanks for having us.
The future is bright.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think there are so many great technologies now in the JavaScript world, and it always depends your use case and what you need to use it. I think it's not that some library is cool, you should be using it. Just to think about why am I using it. I think this is the most important thing to see really, is this the library for my use case or not? I think, yeah.
For me, if you want to know the future, look into the past. Don't be stuck on JavaScript. Don't be stuck on your framework. Look at what others are doing. I've been in the React world for a while, but Angular, observables, they're amazing, right? And then look at game programming, look at embedded electronics. There's so many things that we could learn from other areas of technology.
Yeah, I'll just say that I got excited about web development a few years ago, and it keeps exciting me and surprising me more and more with all the new technologies, the new ideas that come to this platform.
Well, let's give them a round of applause. Thanks. Thanks for sharing your different point of views. I mean, I think we can all learn from other people's opinions. Thanks a lot again.